Question. I'm 15 and I've lost all motivation for school. I still do my work and somehow pass, but I feel bone tired and have no motivation. I feel like I'm watching myself from a distance. Any thoughts? Yeah, great question. I got a ton of thoughts on this one because I love motivation. I'm all about developing that intrinsic motivation. And there's a bunch of strategies that I can have or that I can give, and I think you'll find them really helpful. They're a little more advanced than like the standard, kind of advice of, I don't know, maybe setting a goal, although that might end up being one of my suggestions anyway. But, setting a goal is very standard. You can do that to increase motivation, small little things, accountability partners, things like that. But I really want to get at the heart of the problem here, because if you can figure this out, it can change your life. And if you don't have the next like 5 minutes or 10 minutes to just listen to this, then you're never going to solve the problem of motivation. There's a reason why I created the unlimited motivation formula, because you go through this process over and over again and you can generate that motivation. So if you really just stick to this and you kind of digest what I'm about to say and share with you, and if you gain an insight or something, just that one little shift in your mind, you're going to understand that this is kind of the foundation of all problems that come down to motivation for the most part. So, just taking a look at this too, where, I've lost all motivation for school. I would say, have you though? Because you still do your work and you pass. So that's good. Like you're getting your work done, you're passing, but you just don't have motivation. And we'll talk about the distance thing in a second too. But I mean, it's first to get clear on motivation, the definition. So what is motivation? What is your own definition? Most people, they don't have a definition. They don't understand what it really is. I know this because I've had this conversation with students before where they're like, well, I'm disciplined, but I'm not motivated. And I'm like, yes, exactly. And that's the issue. And also, you can't really be disciplined without motivation. It almost requires some level of motivation in order to be disciplined, because motivation is a reason for doing something. Plain simple. That's the definition. What is the reason for you acting this way or taking action or behaving this way or doing your schoolwork? Like, what's the reason why? And, a lot of people will be like, well, I have discipline, but no motivation. It's like, well, most of your motivation is probably external, not internal. So that's what we're really going to focus on the internal motivation. Now, discipline, there's two different types of definitions here. When we talk about discipline, you have self-discipline, and then you have just regular discipline. Regular discipline is really just following the rules and behavior that is required by social norms or whatever. Like, you just train people to obey rules, and if you don't, there's going to be a consequence. You get punished. Like, if you don't do your homework, you get a bad grade. And then if you get a bad grade, your parents take away your phone because you didn't do your homework. And then you don't get into a good school. Then you don't get a job. Then you'll never be happy or successful in life, yada, yada, yada. So you have to do your schoolwork to stay disciplined, because the consequence is just being a loser in life. And that's why people do their work, even though they're not motivated. Self-discipline, though, is a little different. Self-discipline is the ability to control one's feelings and overcome one's weaknesses. And it's the ability to pursue what one thinks is right, despite temptations to abandon it. So a great example in self-discipline would be, let's just stick with grades. You're still able to recognize, okay, I don't have a lot of motivation or a lot of purpose for doing this schoolwork right now, but I'm still able to get the work done, and despite like me not wanting to do it. So you have a lot of self-discipline, which is good. And that's a key part in this whole little thing we're going to be talking about here. Just before I give my tips, that there's one thing you got to be mindful of, you got to be aware of, and this is kind of the key to what's going to help you develop more motivation. And at the end of the day, it just comes down to your attitude. Motivation is a choice. It's a conscious decision. It's just how you're showing up in the world. So if you're going to class and you're not really motivated to do well in school, or you're just not really motivated to, have a good time in school and to enjoy it, whatever the specific issue may be, because once again, your question, you're saying, I still do the work and you pass. So you're doing fine, but you don't have that motivation. Really what that motivation is, that desire to go above and beyond, that desire to learn more and to push more and to work harder and to do even better in school, or just to even have fun and enjoy it. There's no purpose or meaning behind it. There's no fulfillment or joy. And that is a conscious decision. Now, I can help you with that because it's as easy as just making the decision, but most people won't make that decision. But you have to realize that at the end of the day, I can't change your attitude. I can't change the way that you think. I can give you perspective, and then what you do with that information, I'm here to just pass along information to you and to give you an answer. So then you can take that information and run with it. And the number one way I think you can really just develop this intrinsic motivation, if you're lacking it, is just to ask yourself, why do you want to do well in school? Like, what's the real reason why? Why do you want to get good grades? Why do you want to do your work? Why do you want to go to class and participate and be engaged? And I'll give you some ideas too, just to get the brain going a little bit, because everybody's going to come up with like the same answers. Like, I want to do well in school so I can get into a good college. I want to do well in school so I can get a job. It's like, yeah, well, guess what? Like, dream bigger. Because plenty of people did terrible in school and they became multimillionaires. Plenty of people didn't go to college and they became extremely successful, extremely happy and fulfilled, and all these different things. So don't get caught up in this path of, I want to do well in school because XYZ. Get real and honest with yourself. Like, what do you really want out of your life? Like, what are your dreams? What do you desire? That can change over time. It doesn't have to be set in stone for the rest of your life, but just dream big and think of something. You know what it is. Internally, most of you probably know what that dream is of yours. Like, you probably know. And so whatever that is, just sit with that for a moment, right? Like, you're not talking to anybody about this. I mean, you should, but like, just right now in this moment, think about it. Like, what is that big dream I have? And how can you connect school to that dream? So for example, I'll use my own personal example. So me back in high school, if you don't know anything about my story, me back in high school, I was not the best kid. I was not the best student, I should say. I was a good kid. I was a kind person. I was the goofball, kind of class clown. I was getting in trouble. I was kind though, I had good social skills. I was empathetic. Had emotional intelligence. I was kind sometimes, but yeah, I got average grades, like maybe an A or two here or there, like an elective. I got A's, like gym and other electives, always got A's, B's in math, or like maybe some other core skills, sometimes A's in math, depending on the year. And then, C's and like other stuff like science, sometimes D's in science or history, and maybe English and writing, whatever. So I was just an average student, same situation, didn't really have the motivation to do well. But I found more motivation, not only throughout high school, but also in college. In college, when I ended up getting straight A's, for fast forward a little bit, because my first 2 years in college, I didn't like it. I didn't know what I was doing. But when I decided to become a teacher, motivation, right? Purpose. When I decided to become a teacher, that's when I ended up getting straight A's, because I had a bigger reason for actually doing well in school. I was like, oh, okay, now I'm a leader. Now I'm a role model. Now I need to make sure I do well so I can show my students, like, hey, you can go from like an F student to an A student. And I'm going to show you how, which is what I'm trying to do right now. Because and I'm not saying you're an F student, but like the mindset of transforming and transitioning yourself from someone who's like kind of motivated, but not really, you lost all motivation, to someone that found way more motivation. And the key was really just finding a connection to school and your personal dreams. So going back to high school, whenever I was super motivated to do any work in school, it was always connected back to like rap music, or to like a student choice project, a creative project. I would do, like, if there's me to do a book report, I would ask one of my teachers if I could do a puppet show. And she was like, what? I was like, yeah, can I do a puppet show? She's like, okay. And she let me do a puppet show. Or can I like do a poem, or can I like make a rap song? I remember talking about Shakespeare, and I was like, this is kind of stupid. Can I do like a rap rather than like a poem or something? I like made it funny, but they're like, yeah, go ahead and do that. So I always tried finding ways to make it fun, but that was a conscious decision in my own head. So, and I tried to connect it back to like rap music as well, like poetry and doing things like that, or just puppet shows, whatever. And ask yourself, and once again, to give you some ideas, like, do you want to do well in school because you want to improve your popularity? Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Now, don't get too caught up on popularity versus likability. No, there's two different situations there, but just your overall social status. What if you did really well in school and you got motivated to do better, to go to class, show up to class with a positive attitude. You're engaged, you're asking questions, answering questions, you're talking to people, rather than being like, this class sucks. Like, you bring the energy, you bring the joy, you bring some of that enthusiasm and engagement into the classroom. You're in charge of that energy. So when you bring into that energy into the classroom, other people are going to like you more because you're more of a positive spirit, positive vibe, and you make class more fun. Other kids are going to be like, you know, I like having class, even though this class sucks. I like being in school with that person because they make it more interesting. They make it more fun. That's why I was kind of a class clown for so long, because I didn't see like the purpose in learning a lot of what I learned, but I saw the value in developing my social skills. So in middle school, I was a complete introvert. Like, I had a speech impediment. So I was afraid to talk because I didn't want people making fun of me for the way that I talked, because had a lisp. I was like, a speech impediment. I didn't want people to make fun of me. So I was super quiet, introverted. But when I got over that hump, I saw school as an opportunity to develop my social skills. And I just put myself out there more. Like, did I care what people think or thought about me? Is like, yeah, I cared what they thought a little bit, but at the end of the day, like, I really didn't, because I knew I was going in with the intention of, I'm trying to be kind and likable. And I also wanted people to like get a positive experience when they were with me. I wanted them to be like, I like being around that guy. And that was like, and even in high school, that was a very deliberate approach. You know, like, I was mindful of that even at that age. So ask yourself, like, are you trying to, prepare yourself for the future? Like, even if that's a social norm, there's nothing wrong with that at all. Like, I want to go to college, get a good job. I want to develop XYZ skills. Maybe if you have no motivation in school right now, or even in the future, whenever you lose motivation, just before we wrap up this point, just ask yourself, okay, like, why do I want to do well in school? And what are those reasons why? Just write it down. Social skills, getting to a good college, getting scholarships, developing other skills. Like, maybe there's a good tech program at your school and you want to develop some tech skills. You want to take this as an opportunity to express yourself and be creative, and just see if you can, try new things and just explore. You just want to be more open about it. And you're not obsessed with the outcome of getting a good grade. You just want to maximize your experience in school, because you make the most of what it is. At the end of the day, it's on you, right? You can have great teachers, but they can't make you super motivated. I mean, they can try and they can help and guide and encourage you in so many ways. They can have an influence on you, but at the end of the day, you have to make that choice. And that leads me to one of my second tips, which is about developing, or I would say adopt a creative mindset. And you can even combine this with a curious mindset. So adopt a creative and curious mindset. So going into class and going into school in general, think about like, okay, I just want to be really curious about everything. And even if something's really boring, and trust me, once again, I get it. I have a lot of empathy of sitting there just bored out of my mind in school because things were moving so slow. And it was like, it's just boring. So, I mean, hopefully this isn't boring to you, but I'm trying to answer your question where, just go into it with this curious mindset of, I want to learn and see how I can connect this, the creative part. How can I connect this to my dreams? So let's say you're learning about math, and I'll do this a lot with my students. And it wasn't always about math, but like, if a kid wanted to play a pro sport, they want to be a pro athlete, or a kid wanted to be like whatever their dreams were, an artist, a doctor, a teacher, whatever it was, like, and they're kind of struggling with getting their work done. I was like, see this as an opportunity for you to develop good habits for the future. See this as an opportunity for you to develop a good work ethic. So when you do go to the MBA, you're prepared by developing the habits and developing your mindset to be a hard worker. It doesn't matter how, like, what are you going to do when you have to do 50 sprints? Are you going to give up? They're like, well, no, I like basketball. So I would run hard in basketball because I like that. I don't like doing math. It's like, yeah, but you're training your mind. Once again, use your creativity here. You're training your mind to be more disciplined and to follow a work ethic and to be motivated to continue to push yourself to get the work done, even when you don't want to do it, because the true driving force is, I want to be one of the hardest working athletes ever. I want to be one of the greatest athletes. I want to be the best basketball player I can be. And in order to get to that point, I need to develop more discipline and a greater work ethic. And doing this math work right now, doing these 10 problems will help me get to that point. It's like delayed gratification. You're just thinking about the future. So get creative in the way that you frame your mind. You frame your perspective on how school operates, on like what classes you're learning, like different lesson plans, different courses. Just be creative in your curiosity of learning and how that can connect back to your dreams. Just be open to those different relationships. You never know what you can learn. One of the big things too, challenge your teachers on this as well. If you're a teacher, you should do this. If you're not a teacher and you're a student listening to this, you should challenge your teachers and talk to them about this. And if they're a good teacher, to be honest, they should be open-minded and they should let you do this. If they don't, I feel like that's weird. You know, there's no one's controlling them. The government is not controlling them. If a teacher wants to give you a certain project on the side, they can. So if anyone's not open-minded to that, I find that's a disservice to the student, in my opinion. But I do something called student choice projects. So I want to give my students an opportunity to demonstrate their knowledge, demonstrate their learning and understanding of a topic in any way they want. You want to do a rap song, go for it. You want to do a comic book, go for it. You want to write a blog, you want to teach a lesson, you want to do a PowerPoint, you want to do a video, whatever it is, you can demonstrate your knowledge and your understanding in any way. And I will assess you as from a teacher perspective in that way. But now you get to use your passions to learn about Shakespeare, but now you can do it in a way that's fun because you're connecting your passions to the project itself. And that takes a creative mindset. And you got to be curious about, okay, how often can I do this? Because it may not be realistic to do it for everything. It could be just as simple, like you got to do this worksheet, which is like 10 problems. Sometimes you just got to grind that stuff out. But think about it too, like if you can, once again, talk to your teachers where rather than giving my kids worksheets to do for math, I at least incorporated a game. So I'm like, all right, we need to just kind of grind out some equation problems this week. Like we just need to practice doing this. Like I've taught it a million times. Now it's about like just practicing. So we're going to play trashkaball and solve as many math problems as you can. And like every 5 problems, you get a shot. Or like every 10 problems you solve, you get 5 shots, whatever the ratio was at the time. And it's very motivating. Like a lot of kids, not every single kid was like super hardcore motivated, but there are a lot of kids that were like, I just want to be able to shoot the ball into the hoop. So I'm going to do as many math problems as possible. But that's where you can demonstrate leadership too, as a student, and share your ideas with your teacher. It's a collaborative experience. Like one of the reasons why I believe education needs to change is because there needs to be teachers need to adopt more of a leadership mindset, more of a guide on the side kind of mindset, and allow the students to kind of direct their own learning. And that's a major reason why there's such a lack of motivation with students in school. It's because they don't have this self-efficacy. They don't have this freedom to express their true selves and what they want to learn. They don't have the freedom to pursue their own interests and passions. And that makes it hard to motivate yourself. So trying to find connections as much as possible, like knowing, okay, I'm on this path of life, but I'm also on this other path of school. And any way you can find like a way to intersect them, try your best and try to do that. Ooh. Excuse me, holding that in, the classic burp. All right, I'm going to give you one more tip, one more piece of advice, and then I'll wrap this question up. But, I talked about goals for like 10 seconds, I guess, but really set a basic one. This is like a little side one. This is not the main point, but set a goal for yourself. If you're lacking motivation, your brain is hardwired to be goal oriented. So dopamine is the motivation molecule, and we get more dopamine by focusing on our goals. So if you want to increase dopamine, which is increasing motivation, focus on a goal and try to make it internal versus external. And for example, a learning goal. So this kind of ties into the last point here, which is become a lifelong learner. And when you adopt this mindset, like identify yourself as a lifelong learner, you are going to learn for the rest of your life. You may be thinking, no way, like school sucks. I don't want to learn for the rest of my life. It's not about that. Like it's about being a lifelong learner in any domain of life. Like I love to learn about psychology and personal growth and high performance. And I love learning about entrepreneurship and business. There's so many other things I love to learn about. I love to learn about music. and just continue to learn. A lot of these things are not taught in school. Actually, I would argue all the things I love are not taught in school. That's one of the reasons why I'm trying to build Mindset University and build my own school, because nobody teaches the stuff I want to learn about. So I'm trying to attract more people like that and give them more freedom to learn anything that they want to learn. And I'm there to guide them. So becoming a lifelong learner is really about mastering a growth mindset and mastering, or I would say adopting, this mindset of mastery. So I just want to get as good as possible at specific skills. So let's say one day you want to be an author. Okay, find any opportunity to write as much as possible in school, and just continue to see school as an opportunity to develop mastery in those skills. Once again, take ownership of your education. I know the school system doesn't give you a lot of that freedom, but stand up for yourself. Like, seriously, like, stand up for yourself, go out there, talk to teachers, talk to administrators, talk to people in the community, try to get your, like, start a club, start learning about things that you want to learn about, and see if you can have more freedom and self-efficacy and more self-directed learning. And when you adopt this mindset of being a lifelong learner, and this mindset of just mastery, you want to master skills and you want to learn how to learn, like, learn how to learn so you can develop mastery. I'll link one of the videos below. I talked about the 10 steps of mastery if you want to watch that. Learning how to learn is a key skill for the future. It's actually one of the number one most important skills you can actually learn, because skills and keeps changing. And these hard skills that we need to learn, like computer programming, I don't know much about this, so I'm not going to go too in depth with it, but the technology is just changing so much that the specific skills that you're learning, you have to adopt and upskill very quickly, because technology is changing so much. But the soft skills, you can continue to develop that and become a master in that, self-mastery, and continue to learn those skills while you're working on the hard skills and making the connection to the two. So see school as an opportunity to work on your personal growth. Once again, they don't teach it, so maybe they do. Maybe you're in one of the rare schools that does, and you have a great teacher that does incorporate Mindset Mondays and other things like that. But find a way to become a lifelong learner. Well, first, just adopt that mindset. You just got to commit to it. And then find a way to be more vocal in your school, where you can start learning about other interests and passions that you have. And even if you can't do it in school, just do it on the side anyway. And like I said before, try to connect that stuff back to the class that you have to do. So hopefully you find that helpful. I could probably ramble on about this for another half hour, but I won't bore you to death. I'll kind of leave you with that. Really, if you just, you become a lifelong learner, adopt that mindset. I'm always going to learn, is going to make school right now in the present moment seem like a really short period of your life. Going back to the last point you said, you feel like an observer. That's great. Everything starts with awareness, and having that kind of mindset of being an observer, where you're observing your life, increases your self-awareness. And I talk about this a little deeper in my training program when we talk about the mountain metaphor. We talk about the 4 elements of the hiker, how your human functioning works in your brain. One of them is attention. So where's your attention? Where's your focus? The awareness. Number 2 is your thoughts. So what are your thoughts or your belief about school? Okay, so for example, perfect. Let's use school as an example. Your focus is on a lack of motivation. That's where your focus is. That's where your attention is. What are your thoughts? What are your beliefs? Your beliefs are I can't speak for you. I'd have to talk to you a little bit more, but maybe your beliefs are, I'm lacking the motivation. I don't have any real purpose. I don't see any real connection. I don't see a way for me to get motivated. Whatever it is, you have thoughts and beliefs about stuff. The third element of the human functioning of the brain, the mind, is motivation. So this is a key component of everything. Like, what is the reason for this belief? What is the reason for your focus on school? What is your reason for wanting to take action? Because motivation drives action. That's why motivation is a prerequisite for discipline. So once you get clear on that motivation, then you can identify the habits and the actions and the behaviors you need to take in order to achieve whatever goal it is that you have for your personal situation, which is maybe increasing motivation. But that's why I said before, create a goal. Like, you want to get straight A's, you want to get, a 3.5 GPA, you want to, whatever it is, set a goal for yourself. I'm not going to go through a whole goal setting course here, but if you do that, if you become the observer as well, and you kind of analyze yourself, going back to the journey, school, like your time in school being 15, it seems like a lot, maybe, but it's such a short period of your life. High school is only 4 years. So if you can kind of just maximize that experience, I'm going to make the most out of high school, because get ready. When you go to college, you're going to have way less motivation to do well, probably. I mean, I feel like most people are kind of like that, because college is way more boring too. And it's sometimes just useless. So good luck, and you're going to be paying a lot of money. So your motivation is going to be to not waste your money, which is why you should sign up for Mindset University if you're listening to this and you're new, because we offer much better prices that are affordable than your standard college education. And college is changing. So I can't wait for that moment. And when that comes, because we're going to change the game, Mindset University. So thank you for the question. And hopefully you found that helpful. Hopefully you find a little more motivation to do your schoolwork. But it sounds like you're already kind of motivated. But I guess really the purpose, finding more meaning behind why you're doing schoolwork. And I think that'll really serve you if you kind of go through some of those things, maybe apply one of those strategies. Once again, maybe you can't apply all of them, but at least maybe you found one little insight within there. And if you can apply that and start making progress towards your personal goals of increasing motivation to do schoolwork, I think you'll see a huge increase if you start doing some of those things, like, the creative mindset, curious mindset, and just framing things differently. I think it will help a lot.